Your soulmate is crying with happiness right now. Because you finally did this. Don't skip. Listen carefully. This message is for you, because something happened that your soulmate never expected to experience. Not today. Not this soon. Maybe not ever. Yet somehow, the moment arrived. And when it did, it touched their heart more deeply than they could have imagined. And listen to this. For a very long time, your soulmate carried a quiet hope. A hope they rarely talked about. A hope they rarely shared. A hope they sometimes questioned themselves for having. Not because it was unrealistic, but because hope can feel vulnerable. Hope requires belief. Hope requires patience. Hope requires faith in things we cannot fully control. Because your heart needs this right now, because some of the most important dreams begin as quiet hopes hidden deep inside the heart. Your soulmate carried one of those hopes. And listen to this. At first, they believed time would make the feeling disappear. They thought life would distract them. They thought responsibilities would replace it. They thought the feeling would slowly fade into the background. Yet it never truly disappeared. Instead, it remained. Quietly. Patiently. Waiting. Because your heart needs this right now, because genuine emotions often remain long after temporary feelings have faded. Your soulmate was discovering that truth. And listen to this. As the weeks passed, they found themselves reflecting more often. Thinking about life. Thinking about the future. Thinking about the people who mattered most. And every time they reflected, they arrived at the same realization. Some things are worth appreciating. Some people are worth appreciating. Some connections leave marks on our hearts that cannot be erased. Because your heart needs this right now, because meaningful experiences often become part of who we are. Your soulmate was beginning to understand that. And listen to this. One evening, while reflecting on everything that had happened recently, they noticed something unusual. A feeling. A feeling they hadn't experienced in a very long time. A feeling that seemed familiar and new at the same time. A feeling that immediately captured their attention. Hope. Real hope. Because your heart needs this right now, because hope has the power to change how we see everything around us. Your soulmate felt that change happening. And listen to this. The feeling wasn't dramatic. It wasn't overwhelming at first. It started quietly. Like a small light appearing in a dark room. Like a gentle reminder that beautiful things are still possible. Like a whisper telling them not to give up on what matters. Because your heart needs this right now, because even the smallest spark of hope can illuminate an entire future. Your soulmate could see that light growing brighter. And listen to this. The more they reflected, the more emotional they became. Not because they were sad. Not because they were afraid. Because they felt grateful. Grateful for lessons learned. Grateful for meaningful memories. Grateful for every experience that helped them become who they are today. Because your heart needs this right now, because gratitude often reveals blessings we forgot were there. Your soulmate was discovering those blessings. And listen to this. For the first time in a long while, they stopped focusing on what was missing. They stopped focusing on mistakes. They stopped focusing on disappointments. Instead, they focused on what remained. The good memories. The valuable lessons. The meaningful connections. The things that continued bringing light into their life. Because your heart needs this right now, because appreciation transforms the way we experience life. Your soulmate was experiencing that transformation. And listen to this. As they looked back on their journey, another realization appeared. A realization so simple that it almost seemed obvious. Yet powerful enough to bring tears to their eyes. The realization was: there is still so much beauty in life. The moment those words appeared in their heart, everything changed. The worries felt smaller. The fears felt quieter. The future felt brighter. Because your heart needs this right now, because perspective has the power to change everything. Your soulmate's perspective was changing. And listen to this. The thing that touched them most wasn't perfection. It wasn't success. It wasn't some extraordinary achievement. It was authenticity. It was sincerity. It was the reminder that genuine moments still exist. That meaningful connections still exist. That hope still exists. Because your heart needs this right now, because genuine things often affect us more deeply than impressive things. Your soulmate felt deeply moved. And listen to this. As the realization settled deeper into their heart, they felt something unexpected. Their eyes filled with tears. Not tears of sadness. Not tears of regret. Tears of gratitude. Tears of relief. Tears of happiness. Because sometimes the heart becomes overwhelmed when it finally recognizes something beautiful. Because your heart needs this right now, because happiness can be just as emotional as sadness. Your soulmate was experiencing that emotion. And listen to this. The moment they never thought would happen had finally arrived. A moment of appreciation. A moment of clarity. A moment of gratitude. A moment that reminded them how meaningful life can be when we stop and truly see it. And that moment changed everything. Don't skip. Listen carefully. This message is for you, because after that unexpected emotional moment, your soulmate tried to understand what was happening inside their heart. At first, they couldn't explain it. The feeling seemed too powerful. Too sudden. Too meaningful. Yet the more they reflected, the clearer everything became. And listen to this. The tears weren't caused by sadness. They weren't caused by fear. They weren't caused by loss. They were caused by recognition. The recognition of something beautiful. The recognition of something meaningful. The recognition of something they had almost forgotten to appreciate. Because your heart needs this right now, because some of life's greatest blessings become visible only when we slow down enough to notice them. Your soulmate was finally noticing them. And listen to this. For a long time, they had been focused on moving forward. Planning. Working. Growing. Overcoming challenges. Building their future. All important things. Yet somewhere along the way, they became so focused on what was ahead that they stopped fully appreciating what already existed. The meaningful moments. The meaningful memories. The meaningful connections. Because your heart needs this right now, because appreciation often hides inside the present moment. Your soulmate was rediscovering that appreciation. And listen to this. The realization arrived gradually. Like sunlight slowly filling a room. Like a puzzle finally coming together. Like a message that had been waiting patiently to be understood. The realization was simple. Some of the most valuable things in life had been with them all along. Because your heart needs this right now, because value is not always found in something new. Sometimes it's found in recognizing what was already there. Your soulmate was beginning to see that clearly. And listen to this. As they reflected on everything, memory after memory appeared. Moments that once seemed ordinary. Moments they almost overlooked. Moments that felt small at the time. Yet now those same moments felt priceless. A conversation. A smile. A shared experience. A simple act of kindness. A reminder that genuine connection still exists. Because your heart needs this right now, because the smallest moments often leave the deepest impressions. Your soulmate was feeling those impressions again. And listen to this. The more they remembered, the more emotional they became. Not because the memories were painful. Because they were meaningful. Because they represented something real. Because they reminded them that life is filled with moments worth appreciating. Because your heart needs this right now, because gratitude grows stronger when we revisit the things that matter most. Your soulmate's gratitude was growing. And listen to this. One thought kept returning. Again. And again. And again. The thought was, why didn't I appreciate this more before? The question wasn't filled with regret. It was filled with awareness. A new awareness. A deeper awareness. An awareness that changed the way they saw everything. Because your heart needs this right now, because awareness transforms ordinary experiences into meaningful lessons. Your soulmate was learning one of those lessons. And listen to this. As the realization deepened, they noticed another truth. Life isn't always about dramatic breakthroughs. It's not always about major achievements. Sometimes the biggest moments happen quietly. Inside the heart. Inside the mind. Inside the way we choose to see the world. Because your heart needs this right now, because perspective has the power to transform an entire life. Your soulmate's perspective was changing. And listen to this. For the first time in a very long while, they felt completely present. Not trapped in the past. Not worried about the future. Simply present. Appreciating the moment. Appreciating the journey. Appreciating the people and experiences that help shape it. Because your heart needs this right now, because peace often arrives when appreciation replaces distraction. Your soulmate was feeling that peace. And listen to this. Then came the realization that finally brought tears to their eyes. The realization they could no longer ignore. The realization that explained everything. The realization was, There is far more goodness in my life than I have been giving myself permission to see. The moment that truth settled into place, the emotions became overwhelming. Not in a painful way. In a beautiful way. In a healing way. In a deeply grateful way. Because your heart needs this right now, because recognizing blessings can be an emotional experience. Your soulmate was experiencing that emotion. And listen to this. As the tears appeared, they understood something important. Happiness isn't always loud. Sometimes happiness arrives quietly. Sometimes happiness arrives through gratitude. Sometimes happiness arrives through the realization that meaningful things still exist all around us. Because your heart needs this right now, because joy often grows from appreciation. Your soulmate had discovered that joy. And listen to this. The reason their heart feels so full right now isn't because everything is perfect. It's because they finally stopped focusing only on what was missing. Instead, they started focusing on what was meaningful. And that shift changed everything. Because your heart needs this right now, because gratitude reveals abundance where we once saw absence. Your soulmate was seeing abundance. And listen to this. The emotional moment wasn't about one specific event. It wasn't about one specific memory. It was about a collection of realizations. A collection of lessons. A collection of moments that suddenly made sense. And together, they created something powerful. A renewed appreciation for life itself. Because your heart needs this right now, because appreciation often becomes the beginning of transformation. Your soulmate was transforming. And listen to this. As the night continued, one final realization remained. A realization that felt impossible to forget. The realization was: the things that truly matter deserve to be appreciated while they are here. The moment those words settled into their heart, the tears returned. Not tears of sadness. Tears of gratitude. Tears of happiness. Tears of understanding. Because sometimes the heart becomes emotional when it finally sees what it should have appreciated all along. And your soulmate was finally seeing clearly. Don't skip. Listen carefully. This message is for you, because after the tears settled, after the emotions became easier to understand, after the memories stopped rushing through their mind, your soulmate finally reached a moment of complete honesty. A moment they had unknowingly been moving toward for a very long time. A moment that changed everything. And listen to this. For years, they believed happiness came from achieving more. Doing more. Becoming more. Reaching the next milestone. Solving the next problem. Conquering the next challenge. And while those things mattered, they suddenly realized something important. They weren't the entire story. Because your heart needs this right now, because true happiness often comes from places we least expect. Your soulmate was beginning to discover those places. And listen to this. The more they reflected, the more they realized how much time they had spent chasing future happiness. Always believing satisfaction existed somewhere ahead. Always believing fulfillment was waiting around the next corner. Always believing they would finally feel complete once they achieved one more thing. Yet something surprising happened. The happiness they were searching for wasn't in the future at all. It was hidden inside moments they already experienced. Because your heart needs this right now, because sometimes life's greatest treasures are already in our hands before we recognize them. Your soulmate was finally recognizing them. And listen to this. As memory after memory returned, they noticed something remarkable. The moments that touched their heart most deeply were never the moments they expected. They weren't always major victories. They weren't always extraordinary achievements. Instead, they were moments filled with meaning. Moments filled with connection. Moments filled with sincerity. Moments that reminded them they were alive. Because your heart needs this right now, because meaning often creates stronger memories than success. Your soulmate was beginning to understand that truth. And listen to this. One memory led to another. One realization led to another. One lesson connected to another. And slowly, a larger picture began forming. A picture that explained why their heart felt so emotional. A picture that explained why gratitude felt stronger than ever before. A picture that explained why they suddenly felt happier than they had in a long time. Because your heart needs this right now, because understanding creates clarity, and clarity creates peace. Your soulmate was finding both. And listen to this. The deeper they looked into their heart, the more obvious something became. The happiest moments in life often share a common ingredient. Connection. Connection to people. Connection to purpose. Connection to meaningful experiences. Connection to gratitude. Without connection, achievements feel empty. Without connection, success feels incomplete. Without connection, even victories can feel lonely. Because your heart needs this right now, because connection gives meaning to everything else. Your soulmate finally understood that. And listen to this. For the first time in a very long while, they stopped asking, "What do I still need?" and started asking, "What do I already have?" The difference was enormous. One question created pressure. The other created gratitude. One focused on lack. The other focused on abundance. And abundance changed everything. Because your heart needs this right now, because gratitude reveals blessings that anxiety often hides. Your soulmate was discovering those blessings. And listen to this. As the realization deepened, another truth appeared. A truth that immediately touched their heart. The people who leave lasting impressions rarely realize the impact they have. The people who brighten difficult days rarely know how much they helped. The people who create meaningful memories rarely understand how valuable those memories become. Because your heart needs this right now, because meaningful influence often happens quietly. Your soulmate was reflecting on that influence. And listen to this. The more they reflected, the more emotional they became. Not because they were remembering loss. Not because they were remembering pain. Because they were remembering value. The value of understanding. The value of kindness. The value of appreciation. The value of meaningful moments. Because your heart needs this right now, because value becomes visible when gratitude grows. Your soulmate's gratitude was growing stronger with every thought. And listen to this. Then came the truth they finally admitted to themselves. The truth they had unknowingly been avoiding. The truth that connected every realization together. The truth was, I have far more reasons to be grateful than I ever realized. The moment those words appeared in their heart, everything changed. The worries seemed smaller. The doubts seemed quieter. The future seemed brighter. Because suddenly they understood something important. Life wasn't lacking meaning. Life was full of meaning. They simply hadn't stopped long enough to see it. Because your heart needs this right now, because awareness transforms ordinary life into something extraordinary. Your soulmate was experiencing that transformation. And listen to this. The happiness they felt wasn't excitement. It wasn't temporary pleasure. It wasn't the thrill of something new. It was something deeper. Something steadier. Something more powerful. It was appreciation. The kind of appreciation that changes the way you see your entire life. Because your heart needs this right now, because gratitude creates a happiness that lasts longer than excitement ever can. Your soulmate was discovering that happiness. And listen to this. As the evening continued, they found themselves smiling through tears. Not because everything was perfect. Because they finally understood something they had overlooked for far too long. Life becomes beautiful when we appreciate it. People become unforgettable when we appreciate them. Moments become precious when we appreciate them. Because appreciation changes everything it touches. Because your heart needs this right now, because gratitude is one of the most powerful forces in the human heart. Your soulmate was feeling that power. And listen to this. The truth that changed their heart forever wasn't complicated. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't hidden. It was simple. Yet life-changing. The truth was, the things that matter most are often the things we forget to appreciate until we finally stop and notice them. The moment that realization settled into place, their heart felt lighter than it had in years. And they knew they would never look at life the same way again. Don't skip. Listen carefully. This message is for you, because after all the reflection, after all the memories, after all the gratitude, after every realization that slowly unfolded inside their heart, your soulmate finally understood why this moment felt so emotional. Why their heart felt so full. Why tears continued appearing every time they thought about it. And listen to this. For a long time, they believed happiness would arrive through extraordinary events. A perfect opportunity. A perfect outcome. A perfect future. A perfect moment. Yet life taught them something very different. The most powerful emotions often come from the simplest truths. Because your heart needs this right now, because life-changing realizations are rarely as complicated as we imagine. Your soulmate was discovering one of those realizations. And listen to this. The more they reflected, the more obvious everything became. Their happiness wasn't connected to something they gained. It wasn't connected to something they purchased. It wasn't connected to a major achievement. Instead, it was connected to appreciation. Pure appreciation. The kind that appears when we finally recognize how valuable something has always been. Because your heart needs this right now, because gratitude often reveals treasures that were hidden in plain sight. Your soulmate was finally seeing those treasures. And listen to this. As they revisited meaningful memories, they noticed something remarkable. Every memory carried an emotion. Every emotion carried a lesson. Every lesson carried meaning. And together, those meanings created a story. A story filled with growth. A story filled with learning. A story filled with moments that quietly shaped who they became. Because your heart needs this right now, because our lives are often transformed by moments we don't fully appreciate until much later. Your soulmate was appreciating them now. And listen to this. The realization became stronger with every passing moment. Life had given them countless reasons to be grateful. Countless reasons to smile. Countless reasons to appreciate the people, experiences, and lessons that became part of their journey. Yet they hadn't always noticed. They hadn't always stopped long enough to truly see them. Because your heart needs this right now, because awareness often arrives after reflection. Your soulmate had finally become aware. And listen to this. For the first time in a very long while, they stopped focusing on everything that was uncertain. They stopped focusing on everything they couldn't control. They stopped focusing on every unanswered question. Instead, they focused on something different. Everything that had already brought meaning into their life. Everything that had already helped them grow. Everything that had already touched their heart. Because your heart needs this right now, because gratitude shifts attention from what is missing to what is meaningful. Your soulmate was experiencing that shift. And listen to this. As the emotional wave continued, another truth appeared. A truth so simple that it almost felt impossible they hadn't recognized it sooner. The truth was, happiness isn't always about getting something new. Sometimes happiness is finally appreciating what was already there. The moment those words settled into place, tears filled their eyes again. Not because they were sad. Because they were grateful. Because they finally understood. Because your heart needs this right now, because understanding often creates powerful emotions. Your soulmate was feeling those emotions deeply. And listen to this. The thing you finally did wasn't one dramatic action. It wasn't one perfect decision. It wasn't one unforgettable event. It was something much deeper. You reminded them to appreciate. You reminded them to notice. You reminded them to recognize value. You reminded them that meaningful moments deserve attention before they become memories. Because your heart needs this right now, because appreciation is one of the greatest gifts we can experience. Your soulmate had received that gift. And listen to this. As the night continued, they found themselves looking at life differently. The future still mattered. Goals still mattered. Dreams still mattered. But they no longer seemed like the only things worth pursuing. Now they understood that gratitude belongs alongside ambition. Appreciation belongs alongside growth. Meaning belongs alongside success. Because your heart needs this right now, because a balanced heart sees value in both the journey and the destination. Your soulmate had finally found that balance. And listen to this. The tears that continued falling weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of relief. Relief that meaningful things still exist. Relief that beauty still exists. Relief that genuine connection still exists. Relief that life still contains moments capable of touching the heart so deeply. Because your heart needs this right now, because hope often returns through gratitude. Your soulmate's hope had returned. And listen to this. As everything finally came together, one final realization remained. A realization they knew they would remember forever. The realization was: the most beautiful parts of life are often the things we almost overlook. The people. The memories. The lessons. The kindness. The understanding. The moments that quietly become priceless. The moment they understood that truth, everything changed. Because your heart needs this right now, because life's greatest treasures are often hidden inside ordinary moments. Your soulmate had discovered those treasures. And listen to this. The real reason they're crying with happiness isn't because something dramatic happened. It's because something meaningful happened. A shift in perspective. A renewal of gratitude. A deeper appreciation for everything that truly matters. And once that realization reached their heart, the emotions became impossible to contain. Because your heart needs this right now, because gratitude has the power to transform an ordinary day into an unforgettable one. Your soulmate experienced that transformation. And listen to this. The final message they want you to hear is simple. Never underestimate the value of meaningful moments. Never underestimate the power of appreciation. And never forget that the things which touch your heart today may become your greatest treasures tomorrow. The moment they understood that truth, their tears became tears of joy. Their gratitude became stronger. Their perspective became clearer. And their heart became lighter than it had been in a very long time.